I always thought the worst thing my daughter could do was sneak out after curfew, maybe drink a little too much at a friend's place, or come home with a failing grade. But I was wrong. So wrong. Nothing could have prepared me for the night she turned our home into a battlefield, and the choices she made that spiraled into something no parent should ever have to witness. It started like any other Friday evening. I had just come back from a late shift at the warehouse, still in my dusty boots, stomach growling, dreaming about leftover lasagna in the fridge. My wife was working an overnight shift at the hospital, so it was just me and our 17-year-old daughter, Claire. She was supposed to be at her friend Sophie's house for a study session. At least, that's what she told me when she grabbed her backpack earlier that afternoon. The first thing I noticed was the music. Not my music, not the quiet hum of a TV left on, but bass. Heavy, chest-thumping bass shaking the walls of our house before I even pulled into the driveway. My heart dropped. I remember gripping the steering wheel tighter, a sinking realization crawling over me. She hadn't gone to Sophie's. She was here. And she wasn't alone. When I opened the door, the smell hit me first. Beer, perfume, and the unmistakable tang of weed. The hallway lights flickered as bodies swayed past, strangers in my living room, kids I didn't recognize with red Solo cups in their hands, dancing, laughing, stumbling. My house looked like it had been swallowed by some chaotic universe. Shoes scattered, coats piled, a couple making out against the staircase railing I had fixed just last month. I froze in the doorway, invisible in my own home. Nobody looked at me, nobody cared. My blood boiled as I pushed past the crowd, yelling Claire's name over the music. Some kid in a varsity jacket smirked and muttered, "Chill out, old man," as he brushed past me. My fists clenched. Finally, I spotted her, Claire, standing on top of the coffee table, drink in hand, her hair wild, cheeks flushed. She was shouting along with the music, her friends cheering her on. And in that moment, with the lights strobing and strangers stomping on our carpet, I swear she looked like a stranger too. My little girl, gone. Claire. I roared. Her eyes snapped to me, wide, startled, almost guilty. But then she laughed, shaking her head like I was some embarrassing joke. "Dad, relax. It's just a party," she shouted back, her voice dripping with the kind of teenage arrogance that made my stomach twist. Just a party. That's what she thought. But I already knew, this night was going to leave scars we'd never heal from. The coffee table groaned under Claire's boots as she hopped down, nearly spilling her drink. A few kids booed when the music cut out. I'd yanked the speaker cord from the wall with one angry tug. The silence hit like a slap, the kind that makes everyone's head turn. "Party's over," I growled, scanning the room. "Out. All of you." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, then laughter. Someone whistled. A tall boy with a buzz cut smirked at me and said, "Who even are you?" "The janitor." A few others chuckled, and for a second I felt that sting of humiliation, like I was the intruder in my own home. But the anger swallowed it whole. "I'm her father," I snapped, pointing at Claire. "And unless you want me calling the cops right now, get the hell out of my house." That got their attention. A few kids groaned, some muttered curses, but slowly, reluctantly, they started shuffling toward the door. Cups clattered, shoes scraped, and one by one they funneled out, but not before leaving behind the wreckage. Beer soaked into the carpet, cigarette butts floating in half-empty bottles, chips ground into the couch cushions. My living room looked like a battlefield after the soldiers fled. Claire stormed up to me, her face flushed red with fury. "Dad, what the hell is wrong with you? You just ruined everything." I turned to her, trying to keep my voice steady, but my chest was pounding. "Ruined everything? Claire, you threw a 100-person party in my house. You're 17. Do you even understand how dangerous this was? Her eyes blazed. It's just fun. Everyone else's parents let them. Don't finish that sentence, I cut in. I don't care what anyone else's parents let them do. You lied to me. You trashed our house. And you invited strangers here. People I don't even know. She rolled her eyes so hard it was almost theatrical. You're so dramatic. Nothing happened. God, you act like someone died. Those words, nothing happened, will haunt me forever. Because within the hour, something did. Something that would shatter the fragile glass we still called a family. I thought once the last kid left, I could finally breathe. I locked the front door, turned off the lights, and just stood in the silence, trying to unclench my jaw. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from the sheer rage of realizing how close things had already come to spinning out of control. Claire stood a few feet away, arms crossed, glaring at me like I was the villain in her story. You don't get it, she muttered. I'm not a kid anymore. You can't control me. I pinched the bridge of my nose, exhaustion weighing me down. Claire, this isn't about control. This is about safety. You had alcohol here. Drugs. Strangers wandering around our home. Do you have any idea what could have happened? She smirked bitterly. Yeah, what? The furniture might get a scratch. No, I shot back, sharper than I meant. Someone could have gotten hurt. Or worse. The words hung in the air, heavy and unshakable. She didn't answer. She just stormed off upstairs, her boots thudding against the steps like drumbeats of defiance. A door slammed. Then silence again. I sighed and started cleaning. Cups in the trash, bottles collected, cushions flipped over to hide the stains. It was almost midnight by the time I finished, the air thick with the sour stench of beer. My back ached, my eyelids heavy, but I couldn't bring myself to sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water, staring at the clock, wondering when exactly my daughter had slipped so far out of reach. Then, a knock. Soft at first, then louder. I frowned. No one should have been coming back. Warily, I got up and went to the door. When I opened it, two boys stood there, jittery, nervous. One of them had a gash above his eyebrow, still bleeding. The other clutched his phone, his eyes darting like a cornered animal. Is Claire here? The bleeding one asked. His voice cracked. We need to talk to her. Something bad happened. My gut turned to stone. What do you mean, something bad? I demanded. The boy swallowed hard, his lips trembling. It's Kyle. He's not waking up. For a second, my brain refused to process the words. Not waking up. They echoed, hollow and unreal, like they belonged to someone else's nightmare. What do you mean he's not waking up? I demanded, my voice rougher than I intended. The boy with the bloody eyebrow shifted nervously. He drank a lot. Like, a lot. Then somebody gave him, something else. Pills, I think. We thought he just passed out, but now he's not breathing right. The other kid's hand shook so badly he nearly dropped his phone. We tried to get him up, but, please, can you just get Claire? My chest tightened. For a heartbeat, I thought about slamming the door, keeping this nightmare outside. But I couldn't. Not when a child, someone's child, was in danger. Where is he? I barked. The boys exchanged a nervous glance before pointing down the street. In the car. We didn't know where else to take him. I shoved my feet back into my boots and followed them, my pulse hammering in my ears. When we reached the beat-up sedan parked under the street lamp, my stomach twisted. In the back seat lay a boy I vaguely recognized from the party. Shaggy hair, varsity jacket. His skin was pale, lips tinged blue, his chest rising in shallow, rattling gasps. "Jesus Christ," I muttered, yanking the door open. "Why didn't you call 911? We were scared," one of them stammered. "Didn't want to get in trouble." I didn't waste another second. I grabbed my phone and dialed. My hands were slick with sweat, but my voice was firm as I told the operator. "Teenager. Unconscious. Trouble breathing. Possible overdose. Send paramedics, now." As I crouched there, one hand on the boy's shoulder, I heard footsteps behind me. Claire. She must have seen from her window, because she came running down the street, barefoot, mascara streaked under her eyes. "Dad? What's happening?" Her voice cracked as she looked past me and saw him. Her face drained of color. "Oh my God. Kyle." Her knees buckled, and she stumbled forward. "No, no, no. Please, he's fine, right? He's fine." I caught her by the arms, my jaw tight. "Claire. What did he take?" Tears streamed down her cheeks. She shook her head frantically. I don't know. I swear, I didn't give him anything." But the way her voice broke told me she knew more than she was saying. And as the sirens wailed in the distance, I realized the nightmare wasn't just beginning, it was already here. The sirens grew louder, slicing through the quiet suburban night. Neighbors' lights flicked on, curtains pulled back, silhouettes gathering to watch. By the time the ambulance screeched to a stop, Claire was sobbing uncontrollably, clutching my arm like a lifeline. Two paramedics rushed out, equipment in hand. "Step back," one ordered. They pulled Kyle from the car and laid him on the pavement. His head lolled, his lips now fully blue. The paramedics worked quickly, oxygen mask, chest compressions, a needle jabbed into his arm. Claire's cries pierced the air. "Please, save him. He was just drinking, that's all." I pulled her against me, holding her trembling shoulders, but my own insides were in free fall. The reality was undeniable. This wasn't just a teenage prank anymore. This was life or death. One of the boys, the one with the bloody eyebrow, paced in frantic circles, running his hands through his hair. "We shouldn't have brought him here. We should have just dumped him at the ER." The other kid cut him off, his voice sharp with panic. "Shut up, man. Just shut up." The paramedics loaded Kyle onto the stretcher. One of them glanced at me, his expression grim. "We need to move now. You the parent here." I swallowed hard. "No, but my daughter knows him. She can tell you everything." Claire shook her head violently. I don't know anything. I swear I don't." The paramedic's eyes narrowed, but he didn't press. They shoved the stretcher into the ambulance, and within seconds the flashing red lights were disappearing down the street. The silence that followed was deafening. Just the faint hum of murmurs from neighbors and the soft hiss of Claire's ragged breathing. Then a police cruiser pulled up. My gut clenched. Two officers stepped out, one of them shining a flashlight across the beer-stained sidewalk. "Evening, folks. We got a call about a minor overdose connected to this address." His eyes landed on the cups scattered across our lawn, the faint smell of weed clinging to the air. His jaw tightened. "Who lives here?" "I do," I said, my voice hoarse. The officer nodded once. "Then we'll need to talk. Inside." Claire let out a strangled sob. She grabbed my hand. "Dad, please, don't let them blame me." But as I looked into her terrified eyes, I realized the truth. She wasn't afraid of being blamed. She was afraid of being caught. Inside, the living room still reeked of spilled alcohol and smoke. The officers took in the mess with sharp, assessing eyes. One pulled out a notepad while the other stood by the door, arms crossed, his presence heavy like a wall. "Sir," the officer with the notepad said, "we need a clear account. Who organized this party?" I glanced at Claire. Her face was pale, mascara smeared, hands trembling as she picked at her sleeves. For a moment, I considered lying, shielding her, saying the house had been crashed. But my throat felt like it was closing. If I lied now, I might never forgive myself. "My daughter," I said quietly. Claire's head snapped toward me, betrayal flashing in her eyes. "Dad," she gasped. The officer wrote something down. "All right. Was alcohol provided?" "Yes," I admitted. "By you?" "No. I just got home from work when I found this." The second officer, the one by the door, spoke up. His tone was calm but firm. "Sir, do you have any idea what substances were being used here tonight?" Witnesses said pills were involved. I turned to Claire. Her lip quivered. "I don't know," she cried. "I didn't give him anything, I swear." The officer's gaze sharpened. "But you knew about it?" Claire's silence was louder than any confession. She broke eye contact, staring down at the carpet as tears hit the floor. The first officer closed his notebook. "We'll need to take statements from both of you. Depending on what the hospital reports back about the boy's condition, there may be charges." The words slammed into me like a hammer. "Charges? Against my daughter?" Claire's breathing quickened. "No, no, you can't. It wasn't my fault." She turned to me, grabbing my arm. "Dad, tell them, please." But my throat was dry. Because deep down, I knew, fault or not, she had opened the door to this disaster. And whatever came next, there was no shutting it again. The officers exchanged a look. One said, "We'll be in touch once we hear from the hospital. For now, stay put. Don't leave town." When the door shut behind them, Claire collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. And me? I just stood there, staring at the stains on the carpet, knowing this night had already split our family into a before and an after. The house felt colder after the officers left. The kind of silence that wasn't peaceful but suffocating, pressing in on every wall. Claire sat hunched on the couch, shoulders shaking, her phone clutched in her hands. "Who are you texting?" I asked, my voice low. She didn't answer. Just tapped furiously, then tossed the phone onto the cushion beside her like it had burned her. I picked it up. A string of messages lit up the screen. Friends. Classmates. Some begging for updates about Kyle. Others warning her, "Don't say anything. Don't tell them where the pills came from." My chest tightened. I turned the screen toward her. "Claire. Who brought those pills into my house?" She buried her face in her hands. "Dad, please don't make me say it." The air in the room grew heavy. I stepped closer. "Claire. Someone could die. Do you understand? This isn't about popularity. This isn't about grounding or curfews. This is about a boy's life." Finally, she whispered. "It was Mason. He brought them. He said they were nothing, just something to help keep the party going." Mason. I remembered the tall kid in the varsity jacket who'd smirked at me earlier. The one who told me to chill out, old man. Anger surged through me, hot and blinding. "And you let him?" Claire shot up from the couch, her face streaked with tears. I didn't know it was that serious. I thought it was just stupid party stuff, okay? Everyone does it. Her voice cracked on the last words, and she broke down again, collapsing into the cushions. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A strained voice came through the line. Sir? This is County General. Your daughter's friend Kyle. He's in critical condition. You should come. My knees nearly buckled. Claire's head shot up, her eyes wide, searching my face for answers. What did they say? She whispered. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. They don't know if he's going to make it. The drive to County General was the longest of my life. The streets were empty, but every red light felt like a personal attack. Claire sat beside me in silence, her hands clenched so tightly in her lap that her nails dug into her skin. I wanted to say something, anything, but my throat was tight with dread. When we arrived, the ER was buzzing. Nurses rushed past with gurneys, phones rang off the hook, voices overlapped in urgent commands. A doctor met us near the intake desk, his face solemn. You're here for Kyle Stevens? Yes, I said quickly. The doctor's eyes flickered to Claire, who looked like she was about to collapse. He's in critical condition. We've stabilized his breathing, but he suffered cardiac arrest before the paramedics got him here. We don't yet know if there's lasting damage. Claire gasped, covering her mouth with both hands. Oh my God. The doctor continued, do you know what substances he ingested? It's important. Claire froze, her eyes darting to me. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. She doesn't know, I said flatly. The lie scraped my throat raw. The doctor gave a tight nod and hurried off. Claire turned to me, her face twisted in panic. Why didn't you tell him about Mason? They need to know. My voice came out like gravel. If you give them Mason's name, the police will come down on you too. And you already admitted this happened at your party. Do you want to be charged with distribution? Her lower lip trembled. But it's the truth. I closed my eyes, rubbing my temples. The truth doesn't always save you, Claire. We sat there in the hard plastic chairs of the waiting room, surrounded by the hum of machines and distant cries. Hours stretched into eternity. Claire leaned against me at one point, trembling like a child again. I wrapped an arm around her, torn between anger and a desperate, aching love. Then the doors slid open. Kyle's parents rushed in, panic carved deep into their faces. His mother's eyes landed on Claire, and in a heartbeat she was across the room, grabbing my daughter by the shoulders. What did you give him? She screamed, her voice raw with grief. What did you do to my son? Claire flinched under the weight of Kyle's mother's grip. I didn't. I swear, I didn't give him anything, she cried, her voice cracking. But Kyle's mother wasn't listening. Her hands trembled as she shook Claire's shoulders, tears streaming down her face. You threw that party. You let this happen. I stepped forward, gently but firmly pulling her away. Please, stop, she's just a kid. A kid. Kyle's father spat, his face tight with rage. A kid who nearly killed mine. The room buzzed with tension, nurses glancing nervously from behind the counter. Claire's sobs grew louder, curling into herself on the chair, whispering, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Before the shouting could escalate further, the doctor reappeared. His expression was grim. Mr. and Mrs. Stevens? I need to speak with you. They rushed to him, clinging to his every word. I couldn't hear everything, but the fragments were enough. Brain damage, oxygen loss, uncertain outcome. Kyle's mother let out a wail that seemed to split the sterile air in half. Claire looked at me with wide, broken eyes. Dad, what if he dies? I didn't have an answer. My chest felt hollow, my throat dry. Moments later, one of the officers from earlier entered the ER, his gaze locking on us immediately. He approached, notebook in hand. Sir, Claire, we need to continue our statements. The hospital confirmed there were opioids in Kyle's system. This is officially a criminal investigation. Claire's breath hitched, her whole body shaking. No, no, please. I didn't mean for this. I didn't know. The officer's voice was firm but not unkind. That may be true. But someone provided those pills. And until we know who, this falls on the party host. Her eyes snapped to mine, pleading, terrified. Dad, don't let them take me. And in that moment, standing between the law and my daughter, I realized the cruelest truth. No matter how much I loved her, I couldn't shield her from the consequences anymore. The officer's words echoed like a verdict. This falls on the party host. Claire's face crumpled, as if the ground had been ripped from under her. She clung to me, whispering over and over, "Don't let them take me, please, Dad, please." I turned to the officer, my throat tight. She's just 17. She didn't bring those pills here. She told me who did. His name is Mason. The officer's pen hovered above his notebook. You're certain? Claire froze. Her wide eyes begged me to stop, but I didn't. Yes. Mason was the one passing them out. Not her. The officer studied us both for a long, tense moment, then scribbled something down. All right. We'll follow up on that lead. But understand, if we find evidence your daughter knew and allowed it, she'll still be held accountable. When he walked away, Claire collapsed into the chair, shaking violently. You just ruined my life, she whispered. I crouched down in front of her, my hands on her knees. No, Claire. I just saved it. Do you understand? If Kyle dies and you stay silent, you'll carry that weight forever. You're not the victim here, his family is. Her sobs tore through me, but I held firm. Because love wasn't about covering up the truth. It was about forcing her to face it, no matter how much it hurt. Hours later, as dawn broke pale and gray through the hospital windows, we learned Kyle had survived, but with severe brain damage. He would never be the same. The Stevens' lives were shattered, and my daughter's innocence had been burned away in a single night of recklessness. When we finally drove home, the silence in the car was unbearable. No music, no words, just the sound of tires on asphalt and the weight of everything we could never undo. At home, Claire went straight to her room and shut the door without a word. I stood in the wrecked living room, staring at the stains on the carpet, the broken glass glittering in the morning light. That was the night I stopped seeing her as a child. The night I realized being a parent wasn't just about protecting your kids from the world, it was about protecting the world from the damage your kids could do. And no matter how much I loved her, one truth would never change. My daughter's party had ended in tragedy. And we would all live with the consequences.